Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mama Wears Athleisure. I am your host, Mariela de Santiago, a first time mom. We focus on all things mom with tips to help make life easier and more organized for all you mamas out there. Hey, everyone. So, I am really excited for today's episode. We are doing a collaborative episode, and it's about 10 things I wish somebody had told me about parenting. So, I am your host, Mariela de Santiago.
And I am your other host, Amanda Gervin. And I am actually the host of the Honest as a Mother podcast, which you may be listening to this on. We're not sure. We're going to just release this on the same day for both audiences to hear. So I'm super excited about this.
And if you don't follow her, go check her out, follow her, listen to her podcast, support each other.
Thank you. Hey, right back at you, girl.
So I'm really excited for this because, as I was writing down 10 things I wish somebody had told me about parenting, I feel like the most common ones were always the ones that really frustrated me.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to start off with this one. I absolutely hated when people said, sleep now because, you're pregnant and you're probably not sleeping, or you are. I don't know. Everyone's situation is different. But I was just thinking to myself, so I'm going to collect all of these hours that I'm sleeping and then cash them in later. I don't understand what's the point of sleeping now. It's not like
Mhm.
I can get 12 hours and then feel refreshed when I have two because, I got 12 hours a year ago.
I know. I know. I used to hate that. And then also, when is all the other stuff going to get done?
Yeah.
Right. Like I realized to a point, right? Like I am so pro like moms sitting down, taking care of themselves, all of those things. I really do think like, your dishes can wait. But like the dishes, the laundry, the other kids, like they can't wait for days on end.
And they can stress you out too. Like
Yeah.
I can't handle right now. I have three loads of laundry sitting next to me and just thinking about that. It's stressful, right? Like, yes, it can wait, but how long?
Yeah. Well, this is what I'm saying. So like if you feel like you don't want to listen to everyone that says like sleep when the baby sleeps, I think that's also equally just as okay.
Yeah. I do want to say sleep gets better. So whenever somebody tells you sleep now, ignore that because sleep does get better.
Yeah,
And
I would agree with you. I actually was saying that just the other day because I actually met a parent just out on the street, just like literally on my street. They just moved in recently and he full blown asked me like, "Is this gonna get any easier?" One of the things I said was, "Well, like I sleep now." And I do. Like primarily for the most part, my kids are asleep in bed for like, between 10 to 12 hours. Normally they don't wake. Like as they get older, that part does get easier. You will sleep again. So I used to hate when people would say to me like, "Welcome to motherhood. You'll never sleep again." Yeah, I do. Actually, I do sleep again. So let's stop scaring the moms.
yeah, because it's not like you can do anything about it. Like, okay, well, let me just return the baby. Excuse me, hospital, can you take him back?
Right? Yeah. I mean, well, and actually that's one of the things that I wrote down in regards to sleep is one of the things I wish people talked about more was the sleep deprivation when you're first in it and what that actually feels like. Because I'm sure so many people who are listening can relate to this. But I used to think like I had partied all night long, so I could totally stay up all night with the baby. Like truly, in my heart of all hearts, I thought, how hard could it be? It
Yeah.
was so hard. And like you don't realize how impactful not sleeping actually is to your mental, emotional, physical health and the spiral that it can take you on so quickly. And I remember feeling like, how did I ever think this was going to be easy? But I really thought that.
Well, and I think it's because you're just getting naps, right? You're never really getting like a legitimate good night of sleep because the baby needs to be fed. But then again, it does get better. So you don't really realize how exhausted you are because you don't have your Saturday or your Sunday to just sleep all day like you used
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
back in college.
Totally. What's another thing on your list?
So one of them is that you will become a different person, but to embrace it. I feel like
Hmm.
we want to hold on to this person that we were before, right? Where we were maybe a little bit more lax and go with the flow and not maybe very strict with schedules as far as like planning purposes, but it's okay to change because ultimately, like obviously your family dynamic is going to change. What works for every individual is going to be different. So you have to just do what's best for you and your family.
That's such a good one. And I think I know this was on your list, but I wrote it on my list too. And I think this one kind of goes hand in hand with it, is your friendships will change. And I found like a huge piece for myself, anyways, where I was feeling like, who am I? You're trying to fit this baby into the life you used to have, but you're not acknowledging the fact that you're not the same person. Because, like, maybe we don't really know that right away. But that feels like, oh my gosh, like, who am I? What happened to me? All of that. And then I found, because there was so many pieces of my life that didn't fit with like my old life, because I'm, a mom and sleep deprived and all the things, that my friendships shifted so much. I was the first one in my friend group to have a baby. I lost a lot of friends because I was, not available to, drink wine all night and watch The Bachelor, and or I was just too tired, or you couldn't come to my house because, the baby was napping and I was trying so hard to get him on a schedule or whatever it was. And that also impacted that, like, who am I? Because all of a sudden now I don't even have the same friends. So, like, my life looks nothing like it used to. And I feel like that friendship shift really impacts the, like, who am I? I'm this new person. And there's like a lot of grief kind of wrapped up into all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to kind of come to an accept, I think, initially, but as you start to develop that structure within your family dynamic and realize like it's okay, you know what, this person no longer fits into my current life. I'm gonna make other friends. And you end up meeting some great mom friends that obviously you didn't know before, but then it just kind of works well, right? It fits, especially if the kids are like around the same age, and then you can do things together while they create a friendship.
It's to this day, like, I still do it, right? There's mom friends that I have had for so many years now that I'm just like, even if our children stop becoming friends, you will have no choice but to be friends with this kid because I love the mom. So, like, that is such a good point. And I feel like when you're in it, you can feel like, I don't want new friends. Like, I was so comfortable with my life before, but like, it does come around. You will figure it out. You will make those mom friends, and you will feel like yourself, just like a newer, like 2.0 version of yourself. Eventually, you get there.
Yeah. And then you know what? Maybe those friends that didn't have kids end up having them and they come back and it
They
all
come
works
back.
out.
Mhm.
But, ultimately it's like I didn't want to go, like you said, go drink wine at 6 p.m. when that's bath time and now I'm tired. So now I just want to sit down and oh, my house is still a mess. But at the same time, your friends are probably like, I don't want to go to a 2-year-old's birthday party and spend my entire Saturday doing that. I get it,
Mhm.
right?
And if you think about it, like, before you had kids, did you want to go to the 2-year-old birthday party? No.
No.
Right. Sometimes I forget that and I think about, like, I did have one friend. She was like in a different friend group, not in like my super close friend group, but she would invite us to things. And I used to think, my God, like, I don't want to come to your kid's birthday. This is like, I don't want to waste my Saturday doing this. But now, being a mom, you can feel so like, what do you mean you don't want to come? But it's like, people with kids don't want to come. So I get it now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So what's another one on your list?
Okay, so this is a this was a huge one for me. You cannot parent your however many children you have the same way. And
Okay.
I struggled with that immensely when I had my daughter. Like anybody who's listening, if you are like going for baby number two, especially baby number two, because I feel like you'll figure it out with baby number two. So like maybe baby three, four, five, however many kids you want to have, maybe that gets easier. I don't know. But I remember being like, okay, like Scarlett is broken because this isn't working. And this always worked with Connor. And I remember like being in my therapist office and her being like, well, Scarlett is not Connor. And then I was like, oh, yeah. But like trying to fit it in, or even as they get older, like, that whole like, I don't know, if maybe it's like our generation where I'm like, I'm gonna treat my kids the same, which I do, but you can't actually like parent them the same. So what I mean by that is like, for example, my son, when he does something wrong, I have to like sit with him and talk this out with him. I can't be like, okay, Connor, you need to go to your room and then we're going to talk about this in a few minutes because he is so emotional. He like feels abandoned, he all the things. Whereas my daughter, if you try and talk to her when she's upset about something, she gets more upset. So I have to actually say to her, hey, like, why don't you go sit, cool down, let me know when you're ready to talk, and then we'll have a conversation. But that was huge for me to learn too, that like you can't be the same parent for two kids or three kids or four kids. Like you almost have to be a different parent for each child because they're their own individual person, which
That makes
sounds stupid.
sense.
It
No,
sounds so silly to not understand that, but that was really hard.
I think when you put it that way, it makes sense. But yeah, right. Like you are like, well, this worked with my last one. Why doesn't it work? I only have one, so I don't know. And,
Mhm.
hopefully we'll have two sometime soon. But when you put it that way, like my background is special ed. So obviously I couldn't give the same reward to every single student because they all had different likes and interests. So yes, it totally makes sense about how you can't treat one in the same way as the other because their emotions are so different and what they want are so different. Good point.
Thank you. Um, Another one that I wanted to bring this up because I feel like this one, like we can just cover surfacely, but like your own traumas will come up in your parenting, especially if like you didn't know they were there. Like your kids will bring up uncomfortable feelings for you that I feel like a lot of us don't actually know are there. And then we think it's like our children's issue, but it's really our issue. Did you
That's a
ever
good
find this
one.
for yourself yet?
I think sometimes I definitely find like things that frustrate me, and it's like trying to think back about why, but I don't know that I've really had too much of that. I definitely feel like I take my childhood and say, this is what I don't want, or this is what I do want based off of how I grew up.
Hmm.
But I mean, everyone does that, right? They're like, I
Totally.
do like this part, or I don't like that part. Like
For
for me,
sure.
one thing I refuse to say to my son is if he falls, oh, you're okay. No, he's
Hmm.
not okay. I'm going to validate his feelings. Just because I want him to be okay and not cry doesn't mean that he is. Like, I am going to hug him and console him and do whatever it is he needs so that I'm not telling him that he's okay, therefore his feelings don't matter.
Yeah, no, I love that.
And I think that's kind of how we grew up, where it was like, oh, you're fine. Oh, you're okay. Right?
And like we were, right? Like I think you're like, okay, physically, yeah, I'm okay, but like I need comforting. I need like a hug from my mom. I need all of these things. And that's like kind of what I'm talking about is like that those like very tiny things that aren't so tiny when your child is having a meltdown and you're feeling like, oh my God, why are you crying over this? This is really not a big deal. But then when you like actually unpack it, it is a big deal to them, but to
Mhm.
us, as like the generation that wasn't really allowed to feel their feelings, we're like, what is the deal? Like, we should really just be able to stop crying and move on because I didn't give you the blue cup over the purple cup. Like, this really isn't a big deal. But like, if you actually allow them to feel their feelings, then you can kind of get to the deeper part of it. But sometimes I find there's a lot of parents who like it's so hard to allow our kids to feel those feelings because we don't actually know how to do that.
Yeah, we don't. And I think it's very uncomfortable for us to sit with them sometimes.
For sure. So that's what I mean. Like your own stuff. I feel like I've always kind of felt like your kids will they kind of act like a mirror, right? And show you like where you got to work, or the things that you should be doing to heal yourself. You're like, okay, thank you so much for showing me this again and again and again and again.
So another one for me is it took me a while to accept this one. It's okay to let go of your clothes as they no longer fit the new person that you are, right? So like, yeah, I want to hold on to those cute little crop tops, but you know what? Mama can't keep holding on to them and just hope that they're going to fit again, or the style,
Mhm.
right? You just need more functional clothes, whatever. Like all the cute clothes that I still have, I've gotten better about getting rid of things, but just let go of things when they just no longer fit you. Replace them with the current style that you're wanting to go for, that cute mom style, comfortable style. I mean, now I just live in athleisure wear, which is amazing.
100%. So amazing. Well, like also, I don't know if you experienced this, but for myself, like I remember feeling like after I lost a little bit of like my baby weight, I still remember feeling like my clothes fit, like they fit. I was like the back to that size, but like they didn't fit the same.
Yeah.
Right? Or like I like V-necks were a big thing because like I was still breastfeeding and I felt like my boobs were so big, and all of a sudden I was like, I just don't like a V-neck. I don't like the way it sits. I don't like the way my boobs look in these shirts. Like, and it was so hard to explain because but everyone would be like, but it fits. And I'm like, it doesn't though. It doesn't. It just like your body changes or you change, and you gotta let those things go and find something that does fit or does feel comfortable.
Hi, everyone. It's your host, Mariella. I wanted to thank you for listening and share some ways to show your continued support. You can rate and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Share the show with friends and family. Buy me a coffee to help with the financial costs of running a podcast. Follow me on Instagram at Mama Wears Athleisure. And finally, subscribe to my newsletter. Thank you for listening. And that you like a lot more,
Yeah.
right?
I
Just,
think it kind of is attached to like this new person that we just don't understand that we are yet, right?
yeah, this whole matrescence, but like even your jeans, you find that your jeans fit so different, even if you are this back to your normal size or even smaller than before you were
Yep.
pregnant, but just your body actually changes.
Yep. I know women that have told me like their shoe size changed. Like that was
Yeah.
so like to think that if our entire size of our feet can change up or down, then of course like the rest of it can change, but it is a really tough one. That's a really, really good one. I have, which one do I want to do? Let's do prioritize yourself.
Ooh, I
And
like that.
me too. And I mean, I am talking a really big game. My oldest is about to be 8. So it has taken me like 8 full years to get here. But like, I feel like when I went into motherhood, I thought I had to be a martyr and I had to do everything for everybody else. But I now realize that like a good mom prioritizes herself, right? Like we think a good mom gives everything to her family, but then what do we have left? Like,
An
so
empty cup, right? And then can you really?
you can't pour from it. I hate that saying because you hear it so often, but it is like the most truthful statement ever. How do you pour? Go back to that sleep deprivation stage. How useful were you to yourself, your spouse, whatever, when your cup was so empty, like physically and mentally, right? You're in that like survival mode. Like, why do we want to live there? We don't
Yeah.
need to live there. You can prioritize yourself and your well-being and still be a good mom.
Yeah, and we do it because we have to, but you should, especially that newborn stage, that fourth trimester, you
Mhm.
have no choice but
Mhm.
to pour from that empty cup because you can't tell your infant to just let you sleep for 3 more hours
Yeah.
because they're hungry. So like
If only it was like in the high school where you could like press the button and turn the whole thing off.
right, like it's just there's the survival mode where you have to do it because there is no other option. But then as they get older, like it's also, I think, important for them to see that you are making time for yourself in whatever way that is. Like for me, that's a workout, and that means I get a workout in while he naps. But for anyone else, however it is, going for a walk alone, doing whatever you need to, I think that you definitely need to just take time to recharge in order to be the best that you can.
I couldn't agree more. And now, like, my kids will say things like, I don't know, like, say I'm eating dinner while sitting down eating dinner. You know how it goes. Like, they're done and they want dessert, right? They're done, like, because you sat down like 5 minutes after them. So they're pretty much done. But now my kids will be like, Mom, when you're done eating your dinner, can I have dessert? Whereas before it was like, can I have dessert? And then I'd have to be like, and sometimes I'd still get up and then come back to my dinner and my dinner would be cold. But now I feel like I'm teaching them little things, like little by little. It's like, oh, you know what? My mom needs to eat her dinner. So we'll wait until she's done and then we'll ask her to do those things. And like very small little micro things I'm teaching them, like mom needs to eat. Not a huge thing, but we got to eat.
Yeah, and that's also just making them aware, not only in like mom, but hopefully in other scenarios that are outside of just mom.
Exactly. That's my hope anyways. What's another one you
So,
have?
talking about meals. Frozen meals are okay. They're still meals. This was one that it was hard for me to get used to and to accept because I just always thought, well, I'm a stay-at-home mom. Well, sorry, stay-at-home moms. Before I became one, I thought they have all the time in the world. They can make all these delicious meals. It's just not realistic.
Mm-mm.
So at least once a week, we have a frozen meal on our menu, and it is what it is. We are still eating. We're being fed. We're getting the nutrients that we need. Trader Joe's
Yep.
also has some amazing options.
I love that one. I feel like frozen meals, or like if you need to order a pizza, like just if you're feeding your family and you need to, do one of these things that feels like it's not enough, it's more than enough, right? Like I remember my son was a very picky eater, and my pediatrician, I like went to him about it and I was telling him things that he would eat because I was feeling so like less than as a mom because he was not eating a lot of different like varieties. And he was like, "Do you know what I hear when you tell me those things? Calories. That's what he needs. Calories. That's what he needs. He just needs calories. I think you're doing the best that you can, and I think it's great." And so I've kind of always like had that in the back of my mind. Like, I mean, obviously we're not eating like candy all day long. I try, but like you're not failing if you feed your kid a frozen meal or whatever the choice may be because kids are kids. And
Yeah,
you only have a so much like amount of capacity and time and all of those things.
and you have to pick and choose what you can do. You can't do everything every day. So if that means that a frozen meal is going to be an option today, then maybe that means that your laundry gets folded.
Exactly. And like nine times out of 10, let's get real, the kids are gonna freaking love the frozen
Yeah.
meal over our like freshly home cooked delicious meal because it's the preservatives or something. They're just like, I'm addicted.
And again, there are some great frozen meal options out there. So
Mhm.
find a few that work.
Okay, so this one was on my list and I noticed it was on your list. And I noticed that I think this was something you had to get used to. Your house will always be messy. And I'm still struggling with that, but I want
Me
to share
too.
something because I had gotten together with a group of moms in the fall. There was a whole bunch of us, and there was two moms in this group who have much older children that have either moved out of the house and or are in university. And so the girl that hosted us was like, "You guys can come to my house, but I have a 2-year-old. My house is a disaster. So as long as everybody can kind of like overlook it, and we're a group of moms, right? So we're like, we don't care. We probably won't even notice." It was not messy in any way, shape, or form. There was lots of toys on the ground, but the two women who have these grown kids were bawling their eyes out because they miss the mess. They were
I
so sad. They were like, I wish my house looked like this. I wish this was my problem. And so that was a really big moment for me. So I'm trying to embrace the mess, just like you had said.
yeah, I mean, you're gonna have time to have a clean house later on, and I hear that a lot where you're going to miss the stage. So, yes, it drives me crazy that my floors only get swept or vacuumed whenever the cleaners come by. That, I did all of my laundry yesterday, but I did not fold it. So it's like little successes but hey, the kids have warm bed to sleep in. They're being fed. They've got anything and everything that they need. So ultimately, you have to, I think, give yourself credit, even if it's still hard to get over. I'm trying every day. Still hard to get over that messy house.
I know. It is. It's very, very hard, especially if you're like someone who likes things in a particular order or a particular way. It can be really hard because kids are just messy. That's just what they are. They eat messy, they play messy. And, but yeah, I don't have advice for it other than we just kind of have to sit in the mess.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I have found that has helped me is just having a house cleaner. We have a house cleaner every other week. And it's amazing because they do all of the deep cleaning, right? Like I don't have to
Mhm.
worry about like the tub needs to get cleaned, the toilets need to get scrubbed. So that's if you're able to afford that, that's great. But as soon as they leave the house, it's back to being a mess. But hey, you know what? Toilets are
It's
clean.
clean, it's sanitary, right?
Exactly.
These are these are the expectations we need now, right? Like everything is like clean. No one's gonna get sick from being in my house, but is there toys everywhere? Likely. Crayons? Likely. Crumbs?
Dishes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Dishes. Oh my God, yes, dishes.
So another one. I think this is a really big one because as a new mom, you wonder if there's something wrong with you. Just because it worked for someone else doesn't mean it's going to work for you or your baby or your family. And, you hear of other first-time moms where something worked, something didn't work. For example, I'll go with like a very big one right now with sleep trainers. For some people, it works, and for others, it doesn't. And so I think you got to just can't knock it. You just got to let people figure out what's best for them.
I couldn't agree more. I think it's great to give other parents advice if they are asking for your advice. But it just because it worked for like five of your friends doesn't mean it will. Like, okay, sleep training, like you just said earlier, what did I say? Two siblings in the same house. I did sleep training with my son, worked in 24 hours. Everything was great. I was in such a desperation to do that, and that's why we did it. And I'm like so grateful for that moment. My daughter, she did no, it didn't work. She was the worst sleeper. And I did everything that I was, so like it's not going to work for every child and every parent. And you have to kind of just navigate that yourself and kind of go with the opinions, like go with the flow.
Yeah, and maybe you could try whatever your worked for your friends, but again, that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Like we're
And
in the
it's
process
okay.
of, yeah, like, we're in the process of potty training, and we tried to do the whole 3-day thing. You know what? The 3-day thing didn't work, but we're still doing it, and we are giving treats for going in the potty, which is exactly what the book tells you not to do, but whatever.
But if it's working for your kid, then give them the frickin' Smarties. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I I yeah, I get that.
take
And
everything
potty
with a grain
training.
of salt.
Yes, and potty training is a big one. You'll get lots of opinions on that. And again, my kids potty trained very differently, and I potty trained both of them. So, whatever's gonna work is gonna work.
Yeah. What else is on
Um,
your list?
so one of them here that I have, and I'm putting this one down for myself, but also for moms who want to involve screen time. Because if you don't want to, I also think that's totally fine. But for the moms who were like me, who were struggling with like feeling like a failure because they let their kid watch a show while they prepped dinner or got ready for work, sometimes screen time is needed and it is okay. And you're like not a bad mom because you want to do that. Like I used to put Connor in the high chair every single morning when I started going back to work. So I could like straighten my hair and make lunch and put makeup on my face while he had like some Cheerios. And I'd be straightening my hair in the living room with him, but he would leave me alone for the 10 minutes that I needed and he'd be watching Sesame Street. Like, what is wrong with that? That's always been something for me. Like, if it's something that you are okay with and you want to do, and you feel like it gives you the space and time to complete tasks like that, then I think you should do it. Or if you're just a family that likes to watch TV, that's okay too.
Yeah, we do that. I do that. Hey, I need a few minutes to make dinner. That's honestly like
Totally.
what I count on.
Yeah, that's when I've just always felt like people are so like on with like moms and parents just to the food thing and the screen time. It makes people feel like crap sometimes, and I don't like that.
I know. I hope that we're starting to change
I
that
hope so.
stigma with it because we need it to
Yes,
survive.
I agree. I agree.
So my next one is this. I'm so happy I did this and I still do this. Cuddle and love your baby as much as possible because they grow so fast.
I loved that one when I saw that on your list. I was like, that's such a good one.
They do. They grow so fast. And I'm very lucky. I never had people tell me not to hold my baby because I was going to spoil them. And you know what? If they had, I would have been like, is it your baby or is it my baby? Because
Hmm.
I don't think I asked you. But I love even to this day being able to just hold him and hug him and cuddle.
We still do it. I mean, the thing is, though, my 7-year-old, he's quite long, so it's not as easy to snuggle him. But every night, me and those kids are like on the couch watching a show, by the way, because we watch shows because I am not a failure. Before bed, and we climb on the couch and I literally have them both like in my arms. And it's my favorite thing. I love that they're 5 and 7 and still want to do that. So, because one day they won't.
Yeah. It makes me sad to think about that.
So that's a really good one. I think this one's my last one, but I actually wrote this down when we were chatting earlier because I was sharing with you I have no kids for a few days. And any mom who's listening, I'm sure can feel this. When you get like an hour, a day, a week, a month, whatever it is that you get away from your kids, we scramble like, what should I do? Oh my gosh, should I like clean? Should I make a date for myself to do something alone? Should I go see friends? Should I read? Should I binge watch TV? Should I nap? Like, what is it that I'm gonna do? And I feel like one of the things that no one told me is like, I will not know how to relax once I become a parent. When I have a minute to just lay on the couch and do nothing, I'm going to struggle with that.
Yeah. That is so true. Although sometimes I feel like I can do this.
Oh,
I can
yeah.
do this really well.
Honestly, there has been days where I've done it while my children are home because I'm just like, I can't. I cannot today. But when they're not home, just like, I don't know. I don't know why we're like that, but when I shared that too on Instagram, there was so many responses of moms that were like, "Oh my God, yeah, like I don't know how to relax either." So I'm like, this is a big thing that a lot of us become a mom and we're like, when we get 2 minutes to ourselves, we have no idea what we should do.
Yeah. Well, I have two. Well, I have one more that's mine, but then I also have one from a listener. So
Yes.
mine is um I did this once he was able to fit in a baby carrier, dance with them because they remember that song. It is my son's favorite song, and I love that we have this like song together that he doesn't realize is something that we used to dance to, but he loves it.
Hmm. It's magical what music can do, right?
Yeah.
And the memories it brings out. And both of my kids, we have a song too. And both of them are like, they know exactly what it is. At nighttime, I still sing it to them both. Yeah. I love that one too. That's a really good one.
And it's just a special bond between you guys.
Hmm. Hmm.
So from a listener, Lainey, this one is a really good one.
Hmm.
She said, be on the same page with big things with your partner before babies.
That is a
I,
very, very
that's
big one.
that a very, very good one and very, yes, big because things don't magically get better when you have a baby if you are not on the same page. In fact, I'm almost willing to bet that they probably get much harder.
Hmm.
So if you are considering having babies and listening to this, figure all those things out from like how you want to raise them to religion to education, right? You gotta
Yeah, you don't always
agree.
think about those like down the road things like education because your baby comes out, baby's not going to school, but it is a very big thing. And I think that's one that I would add to my list is nobody told me how challenging it can be on your marriage, no matter the marriage you have, because I would never in a million years have thought that my husband and I would have such highs and lows. Like if I was talking about pre-kid Amanda and Chris, never, never. And then when we had kids, you just don't realize. I feel like, again, this is another obvious thing, but like how much work you need to put into your marriage and how kids like you just kind of put your marriage on the back burner because you're surviving and you're busy and you're in it and you're together because you're like doing things as a family, but you have to really focus on the two of you and purposefully make time for those things. And then if you've got wrapped up in, we're not on the same page with parenting or religion or school or whatever, like that just, it's a big snowball effect that I don't think a lot of us even realize comes your way until you're there and you're like, oh my God, how did we get here?
Yeah, so true. And I think it's
Mhm.
hard because you are so busy focusing on your little one that being able to make time for your significant other every day, it's almost impossible that you just are, it's all about scheduling, seeing how everything's going. So
Mm-hmm.
make
Yeah.
time. That's all for
Make the
me.
time. That's all for me too. This was really, really great. I really hope that everyone who's listening got something from this. I hope if you're pregnant, you've like jotted down notes because we just don't. I think we can both collectively say we're just so sick and tired of moms feeling like they're failing or they're not enough or whatever because no one wants to openly say like this is really hard and you're going to go into motherhood and you're going to think this, but it's really like this.
And not everyone's journey is the same. So
Yeah.
take every
Yeah.
advice with a grain of salt, but do what's right for you, for your family, your dynamic.
Yeah. And just remember that like you're doing a good job every day and you're a good mom. If you are that stupid saying, I'm telling you, another one of these cliche sayings where it's like, if you are worried that you're a good mom, that means you're a good mom. That's it. End of story.
But I think it's kind of true, right?
Right. Right. Like,
Because you're
what
worried.
what kind of mom would you be if you're not worried, right? Like, how do we even think we're bad moms? Because you're like, oh, I'm worried that, A, B, or C. You're like, well, of course that means you're a great mom.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking time to
Thank
collab on
you.
this.
Thank
Um,
you.
so yeah, listeners, go ahead and at least if you're on Mama Wears Athleisure, head over to Honest as a Mother. Follow her on Instagram. Yeah.
And vice versa, honest as mother listeners, please go over and blanking out here. Follow Mama Wears Athleisure, and everything will be in the show notes. So
Thank you for listening. Tune in next week for our next episode. You can find us on Instagram for more updates and tips. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts and give us a review if you like us.